Okay, here we are again. Linebore here. We're doing a linebore on a relatively small machine. It's a JCB model 210S. It's a small combination front end loader and backhoe. You can see it. This is looks like field work because it actually is. We're out in a customer's shop this time. Let's see, this is a relatively light duty loader, thin arms, which kind of creates a little problem for the line boring. You get a lot of chatter. Not that there's a great deal of distance between here, but you do get a fair amount of chatter, and it's tough to keep things square. Ideally, this one was a bit of a problem actually to set up. Ideally, had I known it was going to be this inherently weak, I probably would have just essentially put a temporary cross member in here to hold this thing. So this one, I'm using a steady bearing in the middle just to help it ride, and then we've got this pretty well staved off this way. We're feeding off of one side head bearing. Then when we come over here, we'll put the head bearing bed. The head bearing's all set up. It's absolutely true. The bar went completely through both head bearings, so we know we're good. Just to cut down on the drag and the chatter and stuff, I took this one off so that it'll move a little more easily. So yep, that's where we're at. So these are pretty thin, these arms. This is only just about an inch thick, and looks like this thing has taken a shot. Some sort of side impacts. You can see these arms are a little tweaked this way and that way. Everything on this was frozen and galled. It all had to come apart, either with hydraulically or whatever. I've already done. You can see here. I've already done the arms on this. I've bored and bushed these separately. Let's see. I could probably show you easier on this one. Yeah, here you go. Yeah, I bored and bushed the arms because they were all waffled. The links they chose to just replace. They got new links, which saved a little work. Here we are on these, because these ends were pretty well waffled. I could have fixed them, but I guess they said they were relatively inexpensive. So again, not to go off on another rant, but again, this would not, in my opinion, be a good case for bore welding. In fact, you can see down in here, it has already had let me see, can I zoom this in? If you look down in here, where I'm pointing, you can see all out here, and then let me come around in here, in this area, somebody already has done the goop it up thing weld. It probably got loose and somebody already, which makes a whole nother set of problems, because now it puts hard spots in here, and it beats the shit out of the tool, so that's already not too cool. But anyway, so we've got it set up. We're on our way. We're getting it, we're trying to get it into round. This side is a little bit worse than this side, so that's why I'm starting over here. I do, my rule of thumb is worst first, so that, because obviously to get this straightened out and get a good, good bore on this will be the large, this will decide the diameter that it's going to have to be bored to, and then this one can follow suit on that. I like to try to keep them the same if I can. So that's where we're at. So we've got this pretty well rigged up. It seems to be going not too bad, again, except for the fact that the tool is, taking it a little hard, because there's some hard spots in here, because somebody did attempt to, to goop this up with some weld prior, I can tell. And again, this will have to be, again, this will be bushed. I'll go, once I get it bored out, I'll get my number. That'll be bushed. And then inside that bushing will go this hardened bushing, because that goes and controls. This has got some sort of a carriage. These are actually cylinders in here. You can see with all the flow. By moving the valve one way, it flows the oil, and you can do that. And then by moving the valve the other way, it releases it or something. This too was a fight. getting it apart. These pins were, you know, completely frozen. They all had to be cut and then pressed out and this and that. So anyway, that's what we're up against, and I'll bring you back as we progress. You can see it's kind of ugly in there. It's right up in that area there. You can see where the porosity, obviously, again, somebody was welding in there. That makes it kind of crummy. But hey, you know, what are you going to do? It's all a part of it. All right. Well, we've been through this thing a few times here, and we've got it pretty well all cleaned up. We've got it round. Had to go quite a ways to get rid of all the crap that was in here. Again, as I was saying, this arm, the thickness of this thing, this is only about an inch. Well, it's an inch thick, and you can see right here there are grease fittings that come through here, and that's how this thing gets lubricated on the inside. So you're going to have a bushing in here. I mean, you're going to have an area in here. Let's assume, you know, again, my argument for bushing it with real parent metal as opposed to welding it. Yes, there are bore welders that you can set to skip and this and that, but come on, we're talking about an inch wide here. So you're going to have weld metal in here, and then you're going to have a skip in here? No, come on. I mean, I'm already not crazy about having, you know, a pressed in bushing in here with a, you know, whatever, well, it doesn't have to be that thick, but, well, for alignment purposes, I'm probably going to make the hole about 3/8 or so. So, I mean, you know, again, just my argument that something like this should not be bore welded and returned to service. It needs a bushing, you know, like has done, you know, like what I've done here. And by the way, I make these a very tight, a very tight press. You know, in other words, on this one, on these, for instance, on these arms, I made these almost a 3/1000 press, and then allowed for the, you know, for the inside dimension on the wear bush, these bronze wear bushings. So, you know, because we don't want it to move. And again, the duty is going to be pretty severe here. So, you know, I mean, I guess you could put a tack weld on it or whatever. But again, by the time you do that, you know, you bevel them out and whatever. Again, I would rather not take away from the bushing, so, you know, from the area so much. So again, just a very tight press fit on these, I think will be fine, and then the normal fit up on what goes in there. In this case, it does not get the bronze bushing. This is going to get a hardened bushing, because again, there's other things at work here. This is a hardened bushing, and this gets, you know, naturally pressed. This would be like a normal bushing on a, you know, an excavator end, a dozer arm, whatever. But something also rides, I think I was explaining in here, because this is essentially a hydraulic piston setup. As you can see, it's plumbed in here, so that's what's going to ride on the inside of this. So anyway, so that's one side. I'm going to break this down now, and when I'll come around and do this side. Like I said, I always try to do the worst one first. This was clearly worse. So, if there's a plus on this, the plus is we're going to have almost a 300 thousandths wall. Almost a 300 thousandths wall on our bushing. In order to get this thing back to round and you know, give it a little, you know, nice, get some kind of decent surface area on here to get this thing, you know, really bored out clean. I wound up being, you know, almost 600 thousandths over this dimension, you know, this of the bushing ID here, the bushing that will fit in here. So it's going to have a nice wall thickness. So anyway, like I said, I'm going to break this down and then move on to this side and get that going. And again, I'll try to bring you back. All right, we've we finished the one side, broke that down, and now I've moved it over to the other side. We're going in this direction now. And this side isn't as bad as the other one. Now, you see here, that's about as heavy a chip as you would care to take in there. That's a pretty good chip. We're taking probably a total of 60 or 70 thousandths or more on there. Again, I don't actually measure it when I'm just coursing it out, so that's kind of a guess. But yeah, this side wasn't so bad. You can see it's coming off glue. So, you know, we're taking a pretty good cut on this one. But like I said, this bore is not as messed up as that one was. So we should be okay with this. This one should go a little easier. So again, that's where we are. We turned around, and like I said, we're on to the other side now. So, I'll keep you posted. I'll bring you back as we go. Okay, well, that's about it. I've broken down the bar now, taken the drive off. This side is finished now. So that's it, that's both of them. You can see the way the skeletal setup there. This had a head bearing on this end, steady bearing here, flange bearing in the middle, and another head bearing on this side. So actually these bores come out pretty good. Pretty satisfied with that. This one, the right side, and then the left side. This one was a little more screwed up, and wound up hitting my numbers too. Wound up hitting left side was 3.6 and plus half a thousand, and then the right side we're 3.599 about 7/10. So that's pretty good as far as I'm concerned. So that's going to that'll wrap up the actual boring of the arms on this. Now it's back to the shop. That's it for the field work for now on this. We're going to wrap up here. I'll break all this off of here. You know, take all this stuff off, grind this up clean, and then when we come back, we'll be squeezing in the you know, the bushings that I'll make bushings on the lathe, and then we'll squeeze the hardened bushings into them. So I'll try to include you in that when I get that all done. So that's pretty much it. I think we're wrapping up here. So that'll be about it on the field work for this. So I'll keep you appraised as I turn the bushings and get back out here to put them back in. All right, I'll get back to you. See you next time. This will be the end of this part one on this. We'll call this line boring on a small JCB. All right, see you next time. Bye.